Am I? It, I sound funny. I mean, well, maybe that's just how I talk. Uh, uh, Okay. All right. Okay. All righty. We're gonna go back to Jeremiah and Jeremiah 30, and we'll start in verse 10 and work our way down. Uh, and by way of quick review, I said, I have felt a strong impression that it's good for us to not only know the high side of and all the wonderful, and they are all the wonderful and sweet things that the Most High uh, has said about us, and those things are true, but I felt a strong leading to look into some of the conversations and the dissertations and the back and forth that went between the Most High and those that he decided to use to speak to his people. Because in the review of what was written, we begin to find out that, yes, while we are the apple of his eye, while we are fearfully and wonderfully made, and all the other things that we've been indoctrinated with, uh, there's another side that's equally important to him and to us, that we improve in the areas where we're deficient. And a lot of times I like to, I'm not going to go back to it, but I like to refer back to Job, because one minute the Most High is saying to the adversary, have you considered my servant Job? There's none like him in the land. He loves me and he eschews evil. And eschews is he refrains, he turns away from evil. And of course, we all know the story, the adversary responded, well, sure he serves you. You got a hedge around him. Everything he put his hands to, you bless. He's living large. Who wouldn't serve you? And I said to the body, and I still say, there are a lot of people that, and not that we let it sway us one way or another, but there are a lot of people that think the only reason that you serve the Most High is because of what you got, the stuff you got. And it's sad to say, but there are a lot of people that almost teach that that's how you measure how much favor you have with the Most High. And, some of us have attended seminars. We bought DVDs, CDs, books. We bought all kind of stuff. We got affirmation journals. We've been off the chain. And because that hypes the people, that brings them in by the droves. But, what it has done, it has created a generation, several generations, where we're seeking his hand. If you've ever had just a friendship, let's just keep it very basic. If you've ever just had a friendship, well, a relationship that's, I guess, blooming, hopefully, into a real friendship, and you begin to notice that the relationship sometimes seems one-sided. You find you're the one doing the calling. You're the one maybe dropping by. You're the one that will change your schedule. And every time you make those little adjustments for the sake of the relationship, trying to blossom into a real friendship, you know, you don't have to answer. Just think about how that makes you feel when they tell you, you're the best. You're my, what is it? My bestie. You're my bestie. Saints, with what's come from a lot of pulpits, is it possible that the Most High might feel that way? In fact, I know in some scriptures it says they praise me with their mouths, but their hearts are far from me. And so, I'm saying all of that to say I'm only hoping that we will get a broader perspective of what it really is like to have a real relationship with the one that made us. See, and right now I'm still just talking about a relationship that's blossoming into a friendship. Now, he wants to be more than that to us too, because, because of some of the teaching, some of the fellas think that the example that we should follow, which is Yeshua, he's our running buddy. Because of the way the scriptures have been taught to us. Well, everyone has an opinion, and I'm going to give mine. I think that's dangerous. He's our example. The ladies, because of a lot of the teaching, sometimes tend to take the example of Yeshua, and some have twisted it, and they try to come at him like he's their man. And some of you, being honest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That too is dangerous. Yeshua's not our running buddy, fellas and sisters. He's not your man. He's our example. And this has everything to do with taking a look at what the discourse was between the Most High and his prophets. Because there's a lot of back and forth. think about some of the dissertation that went on between he and Moses. When you read some of the material, they're going back and forth. 1 minute Moses saying, they your people, and God saying, no, they your people. Well, we know that we're his. But Moses was under such stress dealing with, even back then, well, I won't call them church folk back then. They were just ma'aminim. They were believers back then, but it's stressful. It's stressful. I mean, they stressed him out so, Moses I'm talking about, that with all the things, he followed the Most High time after time after time. He got him out of one situation to the next, to the next, to the next. And even his own family members, his sister. God just don't talk to you. He talked to me too. I want to do a teaching, and I'm not going to do it this morning. And I may never do it, but I have some material. And the title of it is Eve, Sarah, Abraham's wife, Jezebel, and Ruth. Not today. What does all of what you said, Barry, have to do with us taking a look at what was said by the Most High to his prophet concerning the people of God, which we're a part of? Let me get in here before I get in more trouble. Jeremiah 30:10, it says, so don't be afraid, Jacob, my servant. And they have here Adonai, I like to use, says Yahweh. Or be alarmed, Israel, for I will return you from far away and your offspring from their country of exile. So again, you know, in today, it's like I'm telling you, the people of the Most High, which we are a part of, don't despair. See, we have enjoyed such success. Pastor Hodge touched on it a little earlier. We have enjoyed so much success. We forgot that we're actually here because he was unhappy with those that went before us. That's why we're here. And my sister now, sometimes we are talking about some things, and she said, you know, it just gets me how, Barry, we forget he's upset with us, but yet we think we're supposed to live a life where every day is a day at King's Dominion. That's how a lot of believers, listen, as long as I can go home, driving one of my vehicles, pull in my driveway, look at my spacious palace, kiss my 2.5 kids, God is good. Well, he's more than that. He's more than that. And in the ascertaining of that, which there's nothing wrong with that, wonderful. Wonderful. I pray we all get to dance at our grandchildren's wedding. And I've said that to some couples. And I pray it come to pass. But what will help us in looking behind the pages, looking at some of the conversations, looking at some of the things that he said about us that's not so flattering. What it does is it recenters us. It lets a little air out of our egos. It teaches us more about what true his type of humility is, and it's not often what we think it is. I talked about Job, and we use the word faith a lot, and Job at the height of everything that could go wrong went wrong. So much so that his wife said, "Listen, why don't you just curse God and die?" And he said to her, "Hey, he said, you're talking crazy." And he said, "Should we only accept good from God?" That's what he asked. Boils on his skin. Children dead. Livestock gone. Everything he held dear. And remember Job was the one that the Most High said, "There's none like him. He eschews evil." And if you do more further reading, Job used to always send up an offering. Job would make sacrifice. And you know why he would make sacrifice? Because he said, in the event my children don't. And that still didn't stop what happened. I'm gonna get to this, and we're gonna take our time, saints. We're gonna. I pray we begin to get something deeper out of this, other than just another nice church service. I'm beginning to sense, and it's not so much that I'm sensing it. He's beginning to unfold. Listen, hearts are starting to see the urgency. People are at a point now where they're starting to say, "Hey, I don't have all of this for nothing. There's more to life than me just enjoying all my stuff." And see, what we're going to get into going to help you appreciate your stuff and realize your stuff is just not for you and your four. And I ain't against stuff. I like stuff. My name is Jimmy. I'll take all you give me. Give an ear to this. He says, "So don't be afraid, Yaakov, my servant, says Yah, or be alarmed, Israel, for I will return you from far away and your offspring from their country of exile." Who exiled them? He exiled us. See, he exiled us. Yaakov, Jacob, will again be quiet, at rest, and no one will make him afraid. Well, a lot of us, we had an excellent teaching this morning on depression, and all of us are dealing with some level of stress. You sit here now, everybody looks successful and all put together. But the truth of the matter is, there's a whole lot going on in a whole lot of folks' heads right now, if we're being honest. But that's all right. Keep coming, keep pushing. When I say keep coming, here's something else. What you learn here is to be used out there. This is not a college curriculum. This is a way of life. The Bible is not just to be quoted, recited, and impress people with how much you spout out. It's to be lived. The instructions are to be lived out. Mary was saying something earlier, and John said something earlier, and it kind of made me chuckle. Because they were saying the same thing, but they said it different ways, and it was about two different situations. And I was like, wow. I said, Father, I saw that. But basically, it's about stop talking about it and be about it. See, Torah makes you do. A lot of stuff we hear just gets us excited. Oh, man, you know me, I'm all that. No, not really, bro. If you're just sitting down on your duff, what are you doing? I remember when Tabitha was a little girl, I used to get on her because sometimes she would come around and she would be like, Mr. Berry, like, you know, she won't give me dap. And I said, Tabitha, that's not how a young lady's supposed to act. She knew that, but she was messing with me. And she was doing to me what I would do to my dad sometimes. And Tabitha actually said, hey, don't talk about it, be about it. And she might have been a teenager then. Because I came here in 91. Okay? Stop talking about it and be about it. Stop talking Christianity and live Torah. What is it? One of the first things we learn to know is to do, not recite. We got to put the word, saints, and this is a bad letter word in church, W-O-R-K. That's a 4-letter word in church. And that's a word that's not in a lot of people's vocabulary. We got to put the work in, saints. We got to put the work in. And even what we call evangelism, it calls for work. It calls for you to disrupt your schedule and work and walk with somebody. We got to put the work in. In your marriages, in your friendships, in your business, you got to put the work in. And remember this too. The more you acquire, the more that's required of you. Let me tell you something. All of us in here would love to be a millionaire. If some of you may secretly already be, I don't know. But I'm going to tell you something. To be steward over a lot sometimes is a headache. Listen, people, I'd love to be so-and-so and so-and-so. Even one of the rappers put out a song, and this is an old song, he said, more money, more problems. There's some truth to that. And again, I'm not saying appreciate what you got, love what you got. Show them how much you appreciate it by the way you take care of it and be a good steward over it. And that includes your spouse. You know, let's stop taking one another for granted. Remember I was talking about that relationship blossoming into a friendship? Well, same thing. Take that thing off automatic. Put some work in. Let me read a little further. I believe y'all still love me. He says, Jacob will again be quiet, at rest, and no one will make him afraid. And then listen at this. For I am with you to save you, says Yah. I will finish off all the nations where I have scattered you. Barry, I'm going to take care of you. But yeah, that was me that was smacking you upside the back of your head because you just kept messing up. And I told you, stop it. And so I got exiled. I got sent out. And so what I had put a lot of time and effort in, you just lost all of that. You know, when I was standing up here and I was telling you it's hard starting over, I wasn't just saying church talk. I was expressing to you something that I lived. And it is hard starting over, even with help from your parents. For I am with you to save you, says Yah. I will finish off all the nations where I have scattered you. However, here's the part. However, you I will not finish off. So we go, whew. I'm still the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath. You know, we just back into hallelujah, back at King's Dominion again. Life is good. God is good all the time. Sometimes he's not. And I used to say, even back eons ago, I said, God is good when he want to be. And I know some people say, oh, that's sacrilege. I'm like, you're not understanding what I'm saying. And I wasn't trying to be deep when I said that. Here is proof given here. However, I will not finish you off, but will discipline only as you deserve. See, we didn't hear much of that. We always heard, oh, you're going to have this. You're going to put $100 in the plate, and by 2 weeks, $1,000 check will come to you. All of that old crazy. And we was eating it up. And inviting all kind of people, talking all kind of crazy, filling the place up. Folks come Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter, they in that front row seat, thinking they gonna get something. The American Gospel Enterprise, that's a book. I have that. Look that up and read it. The American Gospel, the end of the American Gospel Enterprise. It's an old book, so this isn't something new, but they were talking about this back then. However, I will not finish you off, but will discipline only as you deserve. I will not completely destroy you. He was like, Barry, I'm going to strip you down, and he did. He got me down to where actually, and you all know the story, I had nothing. When I moved back here, everything I had was in a moving trailer. My dad was driving Sherry's car back, and I was pulling my car. I had $1,300 left. Didn't want to come back to Virginia, wanted to stay in Houston, had my buddies, everybody praying, and a Methodist minister who I had become good friends with. We used to go to some of the old places, rest homes, and have church service. I would sing a little bit. He would teach. Sometimes he would let me teach. He got sick. I would go in, and they just thought they just loved it. So I was doing all the Christian things that I had learned, right church, right neighborhood, right this, right that, all right, check, 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 check. Got an infected tonsil. Dad had to take me to the hospital. Man, I had a big lump in my throat. And I'm not exaggerating, that needle was about this, the needle was about this long. He had to go down under my tongue to extract whatever the poison or whatever it wasn't poison, but whatever it was. It was, the infection, thank you, to get it out. So I felt, now it was excruciating because I don't like needles, but it was excruciating. And so I'm thinking, okay, I was feeling better. So I'm thinking, okay, that wasn't so bad. Oh, no. We're gonna have to keep you overnight for observation. I'm like, spent only one night in the hospital. And guess what my bill came to when I got to the pay window? No, just one night, a semi-private room, $1,300. That's Yah. That's Yah. I had nothing. Now, graciously, my parents let me here I am, big time businessman, back at home, no wife, no job, and back in that room with them 4 bunk beds. Can you imagine where I grew up? I'm putting my stuff out, and my mother comes in because y'all know Ruby would patrol 8025 Callison Drive. Don't a whole lot be moving around that she don't know about. So I'm putting all my toiletries and stuff up, and she comes in, and she went in. I had one of those travel bottles with astringent in it, and she that thing up, and I said, "Mom, what are you doing?" You know what she was doing? She was making sure there wasn't no alcohol. I said, okay. I knew then I was back home. I'm saying all of this because, see, at that point in my life, all I heard about was I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, hey, man, you go to the right church, you live in the right neighborhood, you know. So then I began to realize he can still love me, but that don't mean that every day gonna be like King's Dominion. And again, look, I stayed in the book of Job. I stayed in the book of Job. I kept reading and reading, and I would try to call my folks, and they won't never home. You know why they won't never home? Y'all know why they won't never home. I said, I'm complaining to the Most High. Everything's gone, snot flying. All the spiritual calisthenics and stuff that I learned and saw, did it all. Walked the floor crying, praying, crying, snot flying, passing gas. I ain't care. Oh, boy. Man, I will never forget those days. But you know, even in that, now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't all doom and despair. Brother Angelo Simon, he was I was a property underwriter. He was a marine underwriter. He wrote the big cranes and stuff. He came to my house. He wouldn't even come inside. He rang the doorbell, and I went to the door, and he just said, listen, because we worked at the same company. He said, listen, I was just impressed with the Lord to do this. And he peeled 3 $100 bills and just gave it to me. Y'all, I needed it. Now, I still, listen, for 2 years, this is really why I bore you all to death about properly managing your finances. I lived 2 years. I was never late. All my bills got paid. No job. Let me say that again. 2 years. I didn't say 2 months. I don't know too many non-celebrity people that can do that. And I'm not saying that bragging on myself. I'm saying, folks, we gotta properly manage our finances. I know you get tired of hearing it. But that little, what they tell you to get 3 to 6 months, the way it's hard for us of a certain age to find a job now, ageism is alive and well. I'm being real with you. See, listen. Even when you prepare, eventually it'll run out. And so by the time finally what got me home, finally my dad called, and he said, listen. He said, boy, come on home. But Dad, I was a big time exec. I had such success. H-A-D, had. Past tense. And so finally now, I remember praying and everything. And so finally, when I finally said, because see, even in my prayers, and see, please hear me, saints, even in your tears, even in your wailing, even in your wallowing, if you're still being stiff-necked and you still trying to do it your way, even though you add a little Christianity teaching in it, it don't work with him. It wasn't until I said, okay, I give. You win. Because I didn't want, and my boy Mike that I was telling you about, Mike said, Barry, I don't know what it is. He said, but I'm going to stop praying that you stay here in Houston. He says, he said, man, I love you. And this, I had one buddy of mine, he was going to lend me a down payment for a house if I moved to Victorville, California, which is about an hour outside of Los Angeles. Because he said, man, a guy with your skills, you can get a job. He said, look, He was moving out. He had got married. They were buying a house. He said, look, so you can get a house around the street from me. I'll write your check. We went looking at houses. He was looking. I knew I was going home. See, I'm being real with you here because, see, how can I say this? Some of us have been taught in such a way, we're kind of viewing God in like a fairy tale. And I'm going to tell you, when that balloon pop and you come face to face with reality, you're going to find out a lot of that stuff, man, you've been hooping and hollering about, it don't work. But finally, when I said to him, I said, okay, you win. You win. My house sold in 2 weeks. I didn't know the couple when the realtor brought them in, but when I saw the way that guy's wife was looking around, I was like, I'm out of here. They came, looked around, and she looked at her husband, and she said she wanted it, and I told them, y'all work that out. I didn't get anything. I didn't get any proceeds. I said, man, just get rid of it. He got his commission. I think he was supposed to probably only take 3, but you know how, well, I better not say that. Some realtors will get the full boat. And now they got legislation, but that's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into all of that. But things begin to move. When I stopped trying to have my way, but yet quoting all the scripture that I knew backwards and forwards, and I go to the right church, and my pastor, someone, that don't mean nothing to the Most High. That don't mean nothing to the Most High. And so you go back and see, I didn't read this, but it says, but will discipline only as you deserve. Well, I've been praying and praying and praying. What's in your heart? Yeah, you praying, you saying all the right words, but again, what's in your heart? He can discern the intent of the heart. See, we can fool each other. We can fool each other. Say all the right things, sit a certain way, hold our head a certain way, pray a certain way. That's right, dear. He says, but will discipline only as you deserve. I will not completely destroy you. And I remember I had got there and I was talking to my mom, and I was like, Mom, I just feel like I said everything gone. And she said, Barry, listen. She said, think about this. You came back and y'all had pretty good trip back. I said, yeah. And I remember she called me when we were ready to go. And, Pastor, he just couldn't do without seeing y'all. Because my mother said, don't tire your father out. I said, I won't, Mom. And so I said, Pop, I said, listen, when you're ready to, pull over and get a room, just flick your lights. Because I was in front. I was driving the truck. He was driving Sherry's car behind me because Sherry was staying with me too. And that's another story. But she was engaged to a guy out there in Houston, and he went to the right church too. See. But that's a whole nother story. But we ain't gonna get into that today. But she said, listen, he still brought you back in good fashion. You're here now, you're safe. What you got, you can put in storage, Everybody don't have that. Wise woman. I was so busy thinking about all of what I HAD. But will discipline only as you deserve. I will not completely destroy you. And then listen further as to what he's saying in 12. For here is what Yah says. Now listen to this. Now remember now, this is the one that says we're the apple of his eye. This is Yah talking now. This is Yah, remember. Your wound is past healing. Your injury most severe. No one thinks your wound can be bandaged. You have no medicines that can heal you. All your friends have forgotten you. They no longer seek you out. Listen, that's Yah talking. Wait a minute, no, not my God. My God don't talk like, yes he does. The God talks like that. Maybe your God don't. But the Ancient of Days does. He says, I have struck you down as an enemy would, punished as a cruel man would. And then listen to why he says, Barry, here's why this has happened to you, Barry. Because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. Why cry that your wound and pain are past healing? Here again, this is what Yah is saying. He's saying, I have done these things to you, not the devil. See, but we've been taught different. Most of us came up learning something different. Ain't no leader trying to act like, well, I ain't never think that. Yes, you did. That mess was ringing out from pulpits everywhere. Everything good happened to you, God did it. Everything bad happened to you, the devil did it. Flip Wilson even made a career out of what? The devil made me do it or something? Let me read those two verses again. He says, I have struck you down as an enemy. And he says, I have done these things to you. And I told you a long time ago, my mom was teaching, said sometimes the only thing that'll turn us around is agony. It's agony. Even the addiction type programs, they say, hey, sometimes you got to let a person hit rock bottom. Even the world know that. He says, I have done these things to you because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. And then again, a lot of times, man, you go into the right church, you live in the right neighborhood, you go to dinner parties, you know, your bosses think you all that. You think, man, God is good and da-da-da-da-da, all that other stuff that they've been telling you. And so, what do you mean my many sins? Don't let me forget this. Had even got to, when in my complaining, I go to church I go Wednesday nights, and I went, back then we was doing it on Sunday. On Sundays, I got 35 men under me. I'm a captain of the ushers. People see me on TV, like God don't know that. What was I doing? I began rehearsing the things that surely you're pleased with this. That's arrogance, people. That's arrogance. We got to learn how to love him the way he want to be loved, not the way we want to do it. We got to be careful. Yes, I did. And then again, I didn't get some relief. I said, well, and then I got to thinking about it, and I said, oh, my God. Boy, you just digging things deeper. And so finally I said, well, okay. So all of what I thought I did, I know it's nothing. I said, but will you move on my behalf? I said, will you do it on the merit of my parents? That's what I began, because I was like, get it off of me, I'm rotten. And again, me saying that, I'm not saying that my folks weren't perfect, but they were committed to what they were trying to do. And I said, well, can I get a pass off of some of their things? And he moved. And what he was saying to me was, hey, you think you some hot shot? You think I need you? I made you. Don't be throwing up in my face all of what you did for me. You did that for you. See, I'm talking real now. I'm not talking church. And if some of you are living a life and you fooling us, you're not fooling him. So if your security is in your stuff and who you married to, or who you cousins to, or who you the son of or daughter of, and what you think you've done for the good of the greatness of the kingdom, scrap it. What did he say? He told me, Barry, your righteousness is of filthy rags. And we all know what? He's no respecter of person. Because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins, but all who devour you will be devoured. See, now, see, a lot of us, because some people have done some rotten stuff to us. Some people have done some rotten stuff to us. But let me see how I'm going to say this. Long time ago, I used to say, I said, God ain't nobody's friend. I was kind of joking, but I kind of wasn't, because everybody gets a measure of correction. That's the perpetrator. And most of us, folks, if you have a victimhood mentality, please rid your heart and mind of it. Because he get the perpetrator, he get the victim, and so that don't nobody else get left out. He gets those that was, Father, I just stood on the side and I was just praying. I was just praying that peace would come on the scene. He get them, he get him, and he get you. He get us. He get all of us. The same people that he used to torment you, they enjoy the torment, but they is coming. Yep. Some vessels were created for honor, and some were for dishonor. See, that's real Bible. This thing is, what I'm trying to convey to you is, this walk is more serious than what we're thinking. Now, again, I'm not saying you can't have nice stuff. I'm not saying that. But all who devour you, I see it, but all who devour you will be devoured. All your enemies will go into exile. So in other words, what's been done to us, some of us been cheated out of business deals. Some of us been done wrong in some friendship circles. Some of us got left paying the tab. Some of us found out the only reason why they want you in the group is because you're going to pay the tab. And you thought they really like you. Then some of us, you've been working with somebody, working with them, and then you find out so-and-so came into thing, man, he took about 15 people out to dinner and you ain't even get a phone call. And then see what happens is in the teaching, yes, you're wounded, because we're human. You be like, well, I try to show them some love, and you know how we do. But then when that person's money is gone, and they go to call the people that they just picked up the tab for, and they won't even return your call. So now, he or she, they hurt because they feel used. But then I often wonder, I'm saying, well, now, Father, do we ever, because some of us do. Some of us, we've done something and it appears we got away with it. But let me share something with you. Sometimes you might get a reprieve. But if you, again, check the foundational scriptures, sometimes it might skip you, but it might hit your grandkids. See? Might hit your kids, but it might hit your grandkids, or it might hit your great-grandkids. See, so why are you sharing this? I'm sharing it because, again, get into the Torah and start doing it. Start following the instructions. Three minutes. But all who devour you will be devoured. All your enemies will go into exile. Those who plunder you will be plundered. Those who pillage you will be pillaged. For I will restore your health. He's saying, yeah, bro, I took it. And I used to always tell it. I said, man, there were times where I felt like he took that mess that I was talking and he just did it. He wasn't mean with it, but he still, nobody likes to have your mess rubbed in your face. But who can do it but him? Because most men are not going to stand for that. But when he do it, you ain't got no choice. See, because he loves us. We are precious in his sight. But he'll grab us in the collar. I know he will with the men. Some of the daughters, because some of them have such a sweet spirit. All he probably got to do is just look at them. Because some kids, some children, all you got to do is look at them a certain way and they straighten up. But some, man, you almost got to beat the bark off them before they straighten up. And some still don't straighten up, even after that. Some. So what am I saying? I'm saying all this stuff, man, yeah, some folks done us dirty. Yeah, we've been disappointed by some people. But guess what, saints? We've disappointed people too. But I'm going to close with that last thing he says. For I will restore your health. I will heal your wounds. Remember now, the wounds basically that he set it up for to happen. And in earlier chapters, he was talking about how even when he's correcting us sometimes, it's as if he's crying. But he still, listen, the holiness and righteousness in him, it compels him to do that. And sometimes he's saying to you, listen, I love you, but I'm not going to let you slide. And I remember, and I'm going to close with this. I remember back in our heyday when we had about 30-some guys, we were back there in the back, and Pop used to like to say stuff to kind of shock everybody. And I remember he said, listen, he said, God loves you so much, he'll kill you to save you. And that shocked all the guys back there. And of course, you had to come back the next time for the explanation. God bless you.